I believe you have seen this before, so we're just going to review the 3 rules. There's 3 more rules that we're talking about today. They're rules or properties similar to what we did yesterday. We use them in the same way, but they're more things that you need to remember. And it kind of gives you a tip on them if you read that first line there. But we need to know how to apply them and practice doing that a little bit. And then tomorrow we have sort of 1 or 2 more little rules, and then that's it, we're done. Okay? So if you remember from yesterday, things like the 3 angles in a triangle add up to 180. 2 angles on a line, if you take a straight line and cut it into 2 parts, they add up to 180 as well. Okay? Opposite angles are equal. Those are the properties we're talking about. Knowing those properties is one part of it. Being able to use them and apply them in questions is the next part. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at this. The C, the F, and the Z. When I have angles A and B, if I want to trace them out together, what shape does it make? Well, try it. What shape is that? Yeah, Ashton? Yeah. Which of those letters is it? Do you remember this? You've done this before, right? Parallel lines. And we use these 3 letters to just help us remember the shapes, and then we have to look for the shapes. It's a C. Okay, so this one's the C pattern. Now, the trick is we have to know what the C pattern is telling us. And I'm actually going to draw it out again. I'm going to draw another version of this to try to show you. The C pattern is the one that's different from the other 2. So the way all of this works, by the way, is I have 2 lines that are parallel. I can tell they're parallel because they have these arrows on them. That means those lines are parallel. It doesn't mean they're the same length. It has nothing to do with length. They're parallel. And then what we do is we take a 3rd line and we cut through both of them. So if I draw a C pattern in this, it would look like that. And I'm going to get rid of it though because it's going to kind of get in the way. Where's the A and the B here? Here's A and here's B. Does it look like they're the same angle? What would you say about A? What would you say about B? A is obtuse. B is acute. In other words, A is really big, more than 90. B is quite small, less than 90. So they're definitely not equal. So it turns out the rule is A plus B equals 180. That familiar number. We don't have to remember any new numbers. The C pattern tells us we add those 2 angles, we get 180. So if I know one of them, I can subtract from 180 to get the other. Does that make sense? But I think this part's easy. Using it in a diagram is the harder part. This is just a fact. If I have 2 parallel lines and a line that cuts through both of them, if I can draw a C around these 2 inside angles, they must add up to 180. Always, always, always. Okay. What if I make a shape out of these ones? I've got to go all the way down and like that. What shape did I make? The F. So this is the F pattern or the F rule. And what do you think about those 2 angles? I'm going to show you a little demonstration. This is like the F rule because I've got an angle above the line and another angle above the line. Okay? And watch what happens when I drag this point. When I make one of them smaller, what happens to the other one? Justin? Look at the 2 green ones. They're both big. They're both small. Like, picture what's happening as I drag this line back and forth and I'm changing the angle. It changes both the angles at the same time, doesn't it? and it changes them both by the same amount. So in this case, the rule is angle E equals angle D. For the F rule, the angles are the same. But you got to know where the angles are. They're either both above or both below the line. Okay? And for the C rule, look, they're both inside the line. They're both on the same side. Okay, and the last one, what happens if I trace out to get both of those? What does it look like? Sort of. The Z pattern, right? So this is the Z or the Z rule or the Z pattern. And what do you think about those? What would be your guess about those two angles? Look at the angle J and look at angle K. They're going to be equal. In this case, they're both obtuse. So they're going to be equal. So J equals K. And just briefly, watch what I can do. I could trace out a backwards Z. And that would be this angle and that angle. And they're both acute. They would both be equal as well. Okay? So we can do, this is actually backwards Z. I could do a forward Z. I could do a backwards Z. I could do a Z on its side. Same thing with the F. It might look like this. Like that doesn't really look like an F, but it's still the F rule. Or like this. Or like this. And same with the C. It might look like that. It might look like that. It might look like this. Could look like all different ways. It doesn't actually have to be the right way for the letter. Any questions about that? These are just facts. If you can find the Z pattern like this, you know you have to find the two angles that the Z pattern uses, but then you know those two angles are equal. Same thing with F, but with C, they add to 180. Okay, on the back of your page, let's try a couple of these. The first few are easy because they're just using one rule, and then we got a couple that require a bit more work. What shape, don't shout it out please because I want everybody to think about it. What shape can you find, can you draw in the first diagram, C, F, or Z, that gets both angles that we have here? See if you can do it lightly with your pencil. Because if you make a mistake, you want to be able to erase. Turn and talk to somebody close to you and just say which letter you came up with. Or say none, if you got none. Okay, watch this. I'm gonna trace the first angle. Do you agree that I traced out the first angle? Now I'm going to trace out the second one. What shape did I get? Z, yes, Z, Z. I didn't know if you said Z or C. Good. The Z. So this is Z rule. And Z rule tells us that the angles are? They are both obtuse because one happens to be obtuse. They're both equal. So I should always change this. The Z pattern has a Z in it. It's like a giveaway. So Z equals 150. Remember, our goal is always to find the value of the variable that's marked, or the angle that's marked, which in this case was Z. So Z is 150 degrees. When the nice thing about these shapes is often you can look at it and with some common sense, you got to know these are not going to add up to 180. Because they're both obtuse. Like, just look at the picture. Go ahead and try to draw your own figure where you draw two parallel lines. Now draw a line between them where these opposite angles don't look the same. They always will. Unless you go something like this. But that's not a straight line. You can't bend the line, right? That's a different situation. With a straight line, it will always happen. And look, these two look the same. They're both small. The other are both big. So you can usually use some common sense and be like, wait a minute. Do they add up to 180 or are they equal? Look at them. If they're both acute, they're equal. If they're both obtuse, they're equal. If one's obtuse and one's acute, then they probably add up to 180. Okay, let's try the next one. Do the same thing. How many people already did the next one? Try it. I'll give you 5 seconds if you haven't. I can do the same thing where I draw out the first one and then draw out the second one. And when I put those together, what letter do I get? So this is the C rule, I'm going to call it. I should have named this one. This one was the Z rule or Z pattern. And what does the C rule tell us? Is this correct? Thank you. Donovan said no, that's not correct. The C rule, they're not equal. Look carefully. One of them is acute and one of them is obtuse. If I exaggerate this, these angles are not equal. So the C pattern is the one that's different. So P equals, Donovan, do you know what it is? Yeah, 180 minus, we're always going to do the bigger one minus the smaller. 180 minus, good, going to subtract. And what do you get? 85. If I did it the other way, I would actually get negative 85, right? And we know that's wrong, so you would just drop the negative, I'm sure, and hopefully write the correct answer. But we want to subtract. Then we go back and realize we subtracted the wrong backwards. We should have done it this way. Okay, good. Last one. We already did the Z. We already did the C. What do you think this one's going to be? F. And if I trace them out, I kind of get that. I just have to connect them a little bit, right? So I got the F rule lying on its side. And the F rule tells me that they are, do they add to 180 or are they equal? Those are the only possibilities. They're equal. So Y equals 70 degrees. Any questions? That's how we use them in practice. The questions you're going to get will look more like example 4. What's going on in example 4? I have to find all kinds of things. A, B, C, D. Usually when you have a bunch, the alphabetical order gives you a tip that you could find them in that order, but that's not a rule, and on EQAO, that's definitely not true. But you might try, I'll try them alphabetically, so let's see if I can do A first. But if you can't, maybe you find something else first. In this case, it's not just the C, the F, and the Z that we did today. All the stuff from yesterday is fair game as well. Can anybody tell me one of those 4 that we can find, and how can we find it? Justin. Okay, so wait a minute. You told me there's a line. Did you mean this line? So then if I talk about 38 and B, what's the relationship? Does anybody know what that's called? They're opposite. And so B is what? Opposite angles are equal, so B is 38. So see, we didn't do it. We didn't do it in order because we did B first, but that's fine. You're totally allowed to do that. And because I'm doing other ones, I'm going to write 38 in there, but I'm also going to write it down here that this is my answer. That's not really my answer. That's just making a note that I know that one in case I want to use it to find other ones later. What else can I find? Donovan. How can I find D?
180 minus 38.
Why?
C rule.
The C rule, very nice. So if I take D and B, they make the C rule. So D is equal to 180 minus B, which is 38. What does that work out to?
142.
Nice. Okay, we've got A and C left. What do you think? Savannah? Ooh, you can make an F. With the 38, you can also make a Z with B. So you got two options here. Very nice. But I'm going to use the one Savannah told us about. See how I make the F rule. So C is 38 because the F says they're the same. And then the last is A. Anybody have an idea for A? It's an F with... So it makes an F with D, or we could go back to the very beginning and see that it's on a line with 38. Either way, we're going to get the same thing. F with D means they're equal, so it would be equal to 142. Or if I had noticed that they were on a line, I would have done 180 minus 38, but that would still give me 142. See how this works? Okay. Try the next one. See, I'm going to give you a minute to try and see if you can come up with any of them. If you can get one, if you can get 2, 3, 4. See what you can come up with. Because it really is all about spotting these yourself, not watching somebody else do it. A little tip is if you're not sure where to start, just look for any angle you can find and write it in there. And start writing in more and more angles can be really helpful. For example, put your pencil down and watch. I'm not going to find A, B, C, or D yet, but here's what I am going to do. Whenever I have a corner like this, an X, I can fill in those gaps really easily. What's this one? The same, so it's 85. What is this one? It's on a line, so it's 180 minus 85. What's that? 95. So this one's 95. And then across from that is 95. Look, when you have an X, you get 2 the same and 2 the other same. And the ones that aren't the same always have to add up. These add up to 180. 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 There's lines everywhere. This is really important for you for that to click for you. Because once I get A, I can do the same in this corner. And the same in this corner, and the same in this corner, right? So this relationship to me is useful, really, really useful. But none of those were the ones I was supposed to find. Why did I bother doing that? Well, it just gives me more options to find the C, the F, and the Z. I'll give you another minute to see if that helps you get any further. Try to find at least one. Your goal should be to find at least one of these. Okay, who's found one? Who can help me get this started? Sam, do you want to get us going? You got D is 85. How'd you do it? Haha.
I got 95 because I did the C rule up above,
Okay.
and then 95 subtract 100 and subtract 95.
That C roll right there.
The one up top.
What do you mean, this one here?
The arrows.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Over here. Okay. Good. Can anybody see another way we could do the D? Savannah? Yeah. I could also do a Z. Tells me that they're equal. So D equals 85. Okay, anybody get a different one? Come on. I know somebody must have. Ashton? Uh-huh. Okay, how'd you get that? Like that? I don't think this is the same way you drew it, is it? Okay, so careful, because if you do it upside down, that will work, but it's going to need an extra step, because then you're going to have this angle, which is not C in that angle. So you're going to get this angle is 95, and then have to figure out C. If I did it the other way, if I can get rid of all of this, and do that F, I see that C is equal to 85. Because I already have that 85. That's why it was nice that I did that earlier. Okay, good. What else? What about this one? For A, what did I make there? Okay, good. With? It looks to me like it makes an F with the 85. That's okay. If I make it with this 85, then they're both on the inside of the F. Or like I said, a Z, and it makes a Z with this 85 over here. Okay, and the last one is B. Anybody see how we can do B even if you didn't do it before? Justin. Why? Why do you think? What shape does it make? Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to add in this 85 because it's hard where D is, because that's the only one that I know. And then when I go across, I can say this one's 85, and now I start to have more, and I already know this is going to be 95, and this is going to be 95. Now I have lots of measurements, and what can I make? Jamarly, what do you think? I can make an F with that top 85, or I can make a Z with D. And I'm going to find that B is equal to 85. 85 and 95 are really close, but I'm going to show you one other thing. I'm just going to move this all out of the way for a minute, and then maybe I can put it back after. If I look at this diagram, I can kind of see which angles are acute and which ones are obtuse. These ones look like they're leaning into each other a little bit, and these ones look like they're leaning out. So use your common sense. Think about the angles. Does that look like a bigger angle, or does that look like a smaller angle? And see if that confirms what you think you're calculating. Okay, let's do one more. This one's a little bit different. What shapes do you see in this one, Justin? Yeah, there's triangles and quadrilaterals and stuff going. Does anybody see how I can find X really easily? Sam, what do you think? Because? Yeah, and like Donovan said, it's opposite of the 55, so that one's easy to get. Very good. What else? Jamarly. How'd you get that? Those are on a line together. So it's 180 minus 130, which is 50. Good? What else can I do? Savannah? Yeah, interesting. We don't know that yet, but that might help later on. You could try it anyway. What else can I do? How about this? What did I draw there? An F, so that tells me what? A is 50. It's the same as Y. Now what can I do to find B? All I have is B left. No, because that's a really good question. Those are not parallel, are they? So we can't do that. But what would connect Y and B? I could do an F here, but I don't know that one. But maybe we could find that one. I can't do a Z. That doesn't get me to B. That's not a letter. What do you think? Ooh, you're on the right track here. Savannah, what do you think? Where's the C? Like this? Because I don't know that one. Hold on. I'm going to show you something. What about this? What are the three angles in that triangle? X, which we know. A, which we know. And B. So can I do that? 180 minus 55 minus 50. Which works out to? Anybody have a calculator? 75, thank you. So see how we can mix parallel lines. We had to use an F rule there. We used opposite angles. We used the supplementary angles on a line. And we used the triangle. We kind of mixed them all up.